to Pitboss Preacher. I'm Pastor Steve. I'm back with you today, and I'm going to show you how I trim out a brisket. There's no imperfect way or perfect way to trim out a brisket. This is just how I like to do it. You're going to see many, many styles. The one thing I would really recommend, do try to get your rounded corners on here. That does help a lot with not keeping your tips from burning. Also, if I don't take off enough fat or do it the way you do, it's okay. This is barbecue. This is the way we love to do stuff. And it varies from spot to spot throughout the United States on this as well. But this is just a regular old choice brisket. This isn't a prime, just a regular choice. I have no problem with choice. I have no problem as long as I pick through and find the right one. Now, this was just a cheap one I got for this video. And I promise you, I don't care how cheap it is, my kids will devour this. I will have my kids drive for 2 hours away to come eat this, and I will probably not get any of it. So let's get into this right now. So also be noted, we're going to start cutting the fat off. The top side here, try to take as much off as we want. We're actually going to wind up kind of squaring this thing off now. Any fat I pull off of this is going to go into this pan along with some of the meat, and then we're going to clean it up because when I wind up smoking this, we're going to cook the tallow down too, and I'll also show you how to cook down the tallow and how we strain it and save it too as well. So, like I said, I like to start off by just some straight edges on the thing to begin with. So, and a lot of people use a boning knife. I use a fillet knife when it comes to this. Now I'm just going to go straight down my edge and get this thing cut just a perfect, well, not perfect, straight as you can down the edge. We want this to straighten out here. Oh man, there's some beautiful marbling down in that meat right there. Wow. And that's the thing you can get with choice too. Sometimes you just get this amazing marbling down in here. And it blows me away how good that looks. Cut our fat cap off, that's okay. Throw all this in here. Now we got that fattened up. Now what I want to do is come off to this side here. And we want to take some of the dry edge off of it anyways, no matter what. So, just make sure and take some of that dry edge off of it. Cut into this thing. Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful, right there. Now, my knife was sharp earlier. It seems to be fighting me a little bit, but I think that's mostly because of the fat. Better to do these straight out of the fridge too. It helps the fat more congeal and your muscle fibers are kind of together. So whenever you're cutting it, it makes it a lot easier to cut. My grandpa showed me years ago, and I wish I would have paid more attention when we were processing deer and stuff on how to do this stuff. But no matter what, whether we were slicing it for jerky or how we were doing it, it was always taken from the freezer, put down, and it wasn't frozen. It was in a semi-frozen state. It makes them a lot easier to deal with. Now we're working down our edges, and we just want to round off. And some people like to take it like this and just cut a little, however they want to do it. Just keep cutting your tip off of it till you get it to where you want it. And then some people just round them off. So personally, I like to just kind of cut the corner on like that and like that. And then if we got a little hanger off to the side here, go ahead and straighten it out. And like I said, everybody does this differently. You don't have to do this the way I do it. Top side, between the flat and the point here, what we want to do, we want to really get off I like to take everything off because this is my flavor side. So I like to take off as much as this. If there's any silver skin, make sure and take it off. But I really like to get this fat off. Now this fat will render. The big fat, the thick fat, it renders, it don't render enough for me. Like I said, I just like to come in here, clean all this up, take all this off of it that I can get off of it, just the big stuff. You can take your time. You can go as fast or slow. You can take as much or a little off here as you would like also. This is personal preference. This is personally the way I like to do it. You notice there I'm kind of sloping this edge too on the front of this brisket. It's more aerodynamics. And Aaron Franklin is the one that has said this, and I think about most of us. fall into this category of trying to do it this way. So, Franklin, thank you for putting out all the videos and stuff that you put out about your barbecue. But Aaron Franklin is not the only person I watch. I love everybody. Matt Pittman especially. He shows me new things and new ideas. And if you guys get a chance, just go over and try him out. Just stop in at Meat Church. If you've never been to Meat Church, go to meatchurch.com or stop in. I'm not affiliated with them. I'm not being paid for this. I'm just saying they've got some great product out there. Now, another thing, we're going to kind of square off this end here. This is coming off of it. And we're just going to try to just give it that angle that we like. I'm telling you, this is marbling in this meat. I have never really got a hold of a choice that looked quite like this has. And you know, some people are going to go ahead and cut it all the way off. I don't like that. You can round it there. I prefer to do it this way. Now, we're seeing our edge where we cut down flat. The next thing I want to do is I want to cut at an angle down through here and pull this fat out all that we can. And I know you really can't see it, but I'm just going to go ahead and cut back in there. Just all this fat in the decal, and you don't want to dig into the decal and cut way back in there. You don't want to do that. You're going to have some funny tasting brisket if you do, I promise. Like I said, I just kind of shave it back down at an angle where I know that it's going to clean up a little bit there. Just have that nice smooth appearance to it. And take as much out as you can. Now this here, we will take all this off. We can't take off. That is just a hard fat. I'm just kind of slicing it at that angle. And if you realize how a brisket is formed, realize these are two layers that overlap each other in there. So that decal, that fat muscle is going to go all the way back through, all the way back into here. So I said, I just like that. Take as much out as I can. And this is really not one of my favorite briskets as far as the fat lies on it. I don't normally like one like this, but they all taste the same when you get done cooking them. So, like I said, we've just got to put the angle to it. Just kind of aerodynamics is what we're going for here. But I'm really going to shave down into here and try to get as much of that out as I can. This is going to make some great tallow, by the way. Now I kind of went a little bit of more angle on this. Now we're starting to get there on the top here. Any stragglers you have, cut them off too. They're just going to burn up. I'll round this down a little bit. Now that's starting to look a lot better now. Let me flip on over to the other side and we'll come back over here and finish now. On this side, this is also preference. I've heard it say 1/4 inch. I think it depends on which way you're going to cook it. Are you going to cook it no wrap? Are you going to wrap it in foil? Are you going to wrap it in paper? That's kind of just how I go. I always, I like wrapping in butcher paper myself. So I try to leave 1/4 inch or less. But above all, I try to make it even all the way through. So no matter what we do, we've just got the same amount of fat coming down this. We don't want too much and we don't want too little. And you can kind of pick it up and you can kind of see how much what your fat content is down the sides of these things too. So like I said, I kind of know I've did enough of this by now that I've judged this on how I want to do it here. Oh, that is just a big nasty. That's almost like the flap there that they didn't cut right. So we're going to take some more of this off. Yes, it is. It is a Nina trim. Like I said, don't leave any just rough edges on it or anything like that. I mean, it's not too bad up in here. There's a little one I want to take off up in here. You can normally just grab it and pull, and it'll come right along like this in here. We know there's a hump right in here. We know it's way too much. So, I take that off anywhere that is formed by the Packers. The way they do these, especially the choice, they're not really careful about what they do with it. So don't take off too much there. I was about to get carried away. Do these edges. Do these edges. Aerodynamics. That is the key here. Aerodynamics. Now, I said this one's kind of giving me a little fit here. It needs a little more off of it, but it's also got this roll in it that maybe I'll cut off before we wind up taking out of it. Now we're kind of rounded here on the end. I love that. But we need to get some of this fat off here. We got to get that aerodynamic look to this. It's that nice little laid over look, and any browning or anything you want to take off, you can take off. Whee! You can see there's a lot of fat that we're just trying to get to. Now we don't want to take all of that because that's part of our flavor. Definitely part of our flavor. We're going to have a lot of tallow left over on this as well. I'm going to love the tallow coming off of this one. I promise you, my kids probably already hear me. They live 2 hours to the north of me, and I promise they probably already hear me skinning on this thing right now. I'll probably get a phone call this evening. Hey, Dad, what are you having for dinner this week? Having brisket. Sometimes I'll start on the back too. It just depends. Like I said, it depends. It's just all in your style. And this is how I like it. And if you mess it up, go ahead and cook it. Don't get upset because you messed your brisket up when you're trying to trim it out. They're all learning. We're all learning here. This is all just a big forum for us to learn. I mean, I don't think I've ever completely duplicated one my entire life like I've wanted to. I wish there was just this one recipe that just said, hey, this is how you do it. You make it the same every time, and it don't quite work like that. So, like I said, don't be scared of it. Again, I'm going to take a little bit more out. Down in here. Like I said, this meat's got some really amazing looking marbling in it, but it's also got an amazing layer of fat right here. There's some people out here that will look at this brisket and say, well, you shouldn't have bought it. Well, I actually didn't pay that much for this one, so I can't grab too much there. Now we're starting to get our shape, starting to get our flow to it here. Pretty happy with that. I don't mind that at all. Maybe just a teensy-weensy more out of you. Maybe right in there. Yeah, there we go. That's starting to do it. That's starting to do what I wanted. And like I said, you can nitpick this top as much or as little as you want. But that all depends on you and how you cook your barbecue and how you want it to come out. I'm still kind of a little off here and the deck a little bit there. But we have now got that taken care of. That, folks, is how I like to trim my briskets. It's not just perfect. Like I said, you just keep the round, even flows. You can keep it even this way on both sides. Just kind of work it however you want. And if you don't want to, don't. I've seen people cook untrimmed briskets before now. I don't know how they came out. I never actually tasted them, but you can't go wrong. Practice makes perfect. Cook as many things as you can. For me, it's as many as I can afford. And so I could have this every day. I would have this every day. But good Lord hasn't got me there yet. So that would be how I trim a brisket.